Hello everyone and welcome to White Sunset. Before I get into this video, I think you all should know that I've been in a bit of a slump. I couldn't really think of a topic I wanted to cover no matter how much I tried. For weeks I've been stuck in a limbo of blank notepads and rambling thoughts. I considered making a sequel video to my changes for Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. I thought about making another Game of Thrones video and offer changes to the Beyond the Wall episode from Season 7, but none of the projects I thought of gave me that creative flair that other videos on this channel have. To rectify this, I binged through the videos on my channel to try to get inspiration, and lo and behold, my wish came true. While rewatching my video about Anna Arcana, I remembered an idea that I thought up while writing that video, but I didn't want to release them back to back, as by my understanding, Anna and one of the subjects of this video didn't have a healthy separation, and I didn't want to seem like I was stirring an old pot by praising one and essentially shaming the work of the other. The subject I'm referring to is obviously Ray William Johnson, once the most subscribed person on YouTube, now dwarfed tenfold by a loud Swedish man. Ray has had a very successful career on YouTube, hosting the most popular show for years and even creating a second channel for music and animation that too became the most successful channel of its genre until being cancelled. Despite his many projects, however, none has been more relevant than the show that made him so successful in the first place, Equals 3. A very simple format of Ray providing comedic commentary to a series of viral videos each week, but with an entertainment value that matured and grew to a formula of creating entertaining videos that demonstrated what was big on the internet for that week. But all good things must come to an end, and in March of 2014, Ray retired as host of Equals 3, with the goal of expanding his business and acting career. This was not a light decision, as he expressed his loss of passion for the show a year in advance, but continued with it week after week to ease his audience into the idea of him no longer being a part of the show. But he didn't leave us with nothing. He screened many personalities and actors in search for the right person to take his place as host. A process that took months and months of searching until finally choosing the man who was going to be the new face of the show. But before we could meet this new host, Ray did something incredibly smart, whether intentional or not. After Ray left the show, there was a very long gap until the new host was presented. This 4-month gap was perfect for retaining his audience. This is because as time went on, the anticipation of who would replace Ray grew more and more, until the day finally came in July of that year, where a video landed in our subscription boxes titled The Resurrection, and our first introduction to Robbie Motz as the new host of Equals 3 instantly made me like him.
I'm Robbie Motz, and you don't know me yet.
An open and sincere greeting from the new host, showing himself as someone who is eager for the audience to get to know him. For the following year, Robbie grew into his role as host, getting better and better with every episode and finding a rhythm that complemented his style of joke delivery. But after a year of hosting, Robbie too expressed his desire to move on as an entertainer, and so giving the fans about a month's notice, he began his countdown to his final episode of the show. With the change in host happening once again, there was a minor mistake made by the production crew of the show, which began the uneasy feeling the audience developed for the final few months of Equals 3. Where the change in host last time had a large gap between Ray's last episode and Robbie's first, this time around the change in host did not have any gap between the last time Robbie was featured and the first time the new host took charge of the show. The mistake here is that before, with the gap between episodes, the fans were left waiting in earnest anticipation for who might be the new host. It was very much akin to a TV show in that regard, with it being common to have several months break between seasons to give the audience time to process the events of where the story left off, and leave them eager to see what new developments would appear when the show returned in the new season. Looking at it in this light, it makes Ray's many years as host be the first season of Equals 3, Robbie's year be the second season, and had they left a gap, even just a week, then this new host would have been the head of the third season of the show. And with time to process the retirement of Robbie, the audience would have been more open to the arrival of a new host for what was once the internet's biggest show. So who was this new host? Following Robbie's leave, it was made very clear that the new host was going to be one of the crew members who worked behind the scenes of Equals 3, as well as having features in other projects the channel was releasing alongside this iconic show. Some strong contenders for this title were Carlos Santos, a very energetic and joyful individual with a comedic background.
Whoop, there it is.
Oh, no.
Oh, can I laugh? Oh, he's falling so much. I don't know if he's okay.
I'm okay.
He's okay. And now it's not as funny anymore.
Jules Medcraft, who had been seen on the channel across multiple different shows, who had time and again came through with great comedic timing.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but have we met?
And my personal favourite, Kelly Landry, who had her own show on the channel where she perfectly blended comedy with trivia, and where appropriate was somber and respectful when addressing topics of a serious nature.
And then just off. Death row inmates had years to plan their last words, and these guys just get off.
I'd say that any one of these three would have been the perfect choice to be the new host, but in the end the new host was the show's producer, Kadja Martin. Throughout Kadja's tenure as host of the show, the issues with her presentation style became very apparent. Though I and many others were more than willing to accept a new host for the show, Kadja's energy and attitude to the show left it feeling void and empty. That isn't to say it is entirely the fault of one person for the downfall of a popular show. The writing is to blame, the audience interaction on and off camera is to blame, the directing is to blame, and I intend to explain how these roles played a part in the downfall of Equals 3 and the channel of Ray William Johnson as a whole. Kaja's first moments as host of the show had already created a disconnect with the audience. Your first moments on camera as a host of a show are extremely essential. They tell the audience who you are, what your personality is like, and should be handled in a way that shows who you are before taking your onstage persona. In the case of Kaja, her first moments portray herself as cocky and arrogant. She expects you to know who she is and doesn't even introduce herself before directing you to watch two completely different series she's involved with.
You guys recognize me from Booze Lightyear, Comedians On, right? Come on. If not, why are you guys not watching Booze Lightyear and Comedians On? Those are great shows. Well, keep watching either way because this is my first episode and I'm super excited. I'm Kaja Martin. I approve that. Okay, yeah, that's supposed to be the end. Let's...
Just thinking about this logically, if one of the first things you say as host of a show is directing the audience to watch two entirely different series, then it gives off the impression that your commitment to the show you are now the face of isn't very high, and you would rather be working on other projects. Let's compare this to Robbie's first moments on camera. Taking over as host was a big thing for him as the talent and us as the audience. He had to make himself liked by the audience first before diving into the comedic tones of the show. His first words on camera are "Hi, I'm Robbie Motts and you don't know me yet." He isn't playing up his personality for the camera, he is giving a kind hello to the people who get to know him over the next year. And most importantly, he isn't directing the audience to watch other projects he's a part of so they can get to know him through his other work. He briefly mentions his work in theatre, but that's more to establish that he has experience as an entertainer and not that he wants you to watch him act on stage.
I've done some theater and some improv, but I'm just a guy who auditioned. I auditioned and apparently Ray liked me the best out of like 1,000 people, so I get to do this.
From this we can see that there are already two mistakes made before the first episode has even officially started. Moving on, we continue to see a disconnect with the audience through Kaja's performance. There are many jokes that she seems not to fully commit to or almost gives up on towards the end. This is something that can be easily fixed through a good director who could have helped Kaja settle into the nature of these jokes. But for the most part, the lack of commitment to a bit takes away the enjoyment factor from the video and gives off the impression that even she doesn't think these jokes are funny. Poor delivery is also an issue. There are a lot of examples of Kaja giving off a very strange goodbye at the end of the videos. There was often a weird pause before saying thank you for watching the video. This strange pause makes the gratitude she is trying to portray seem hollow and fake. Like the idea of being thankful is confusing to her, like it's an afterthought.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching.
You may think this is a bit of a nitpick, but the way you deliver your lines as a performer, especially when showing gratitude for something, is very important. As humans, we spend our lives socialising and learn to pick up on social cues. When something looks or sounds off, then subconsciously we have an aversion to it, and this builds up a disconnect between the talent and the audience. Speaking from experience, when reading lines you tend to miss out on your own manner of speaking from time to time. In my own videos you can catch my voice steadily losing momentum as the video goes on. If I could afford to hire a director, they could help keep the energy of my voice high and you'd see my commentaries much more engaging to listen to. In the case of Kaja, having both to read the lines and perform visually on camera, you need a good director to pay attention to your on-camera presence and the manner in which you're speaking to the audience, which is in turn one of the most important parts of hosting a show like this. Every element that creates a disconnect between you and your audience increases the likeliness of the audience turning on you and not accepting you as the host, which is exactly what happened in Kaja's case. As a host, she was fine. She did the job well enough and had some genuinely funny moments when she found a comedic flow. But by the time she got into the groove of the show, the audience had already turned on her, and by the nature of the internet, it was near impossible to bring the audience back to her side at this point. The next mistake made by the Equals 3 team during Kaja's run as host is one that on paper makes a lot of sense. But again, this is a show that premiered on the internet, and any change to an established formula is a very risky endeavour. And this mistake is what made a very wide margin of the audience who was still open to her as host lose faith in her finding her footing in the show. For several weeks she had featured many videos on the show that did not fit with the usual brand of Equals 3. As the show was once about featuring the trending videos of any given week that were not from any established creators, Kaja's inclusion to the roster saw many videos that no one would consider to be trending. The brand of the show was about viral videos, so when they start including videos with 20,000 views, or even sometimes as low as 100 views, the returning audience saw this as a betrayal to the legacy set up by Robbie and Ray. But as I stated a moment ago, On paper, this is actually not a bad idea. Each episode features 3 videos for the host to comment on. By making one of those 3 videos be one that hasn't seen a lot of traction, then you are helping to promote its growth and help it reach the audience you believe that it deserves. But the mistake made with this inclusion was the timing of it. Kaja had yet to make a positive impact on the Equals 3 audience. A few jokes here and there landed really well, but a lot of negative feedback had built up at this point, and it didn't appear as though she or the staff were making any efforts to improve her relationship with the audience. So by throwing this change to the formula in the mix at the time where Kaja was not accepted by the audience, then that solidified the divide between her and them, and her eventual retirement from the show became inevitable. I think what needs to be taken into account from everything discussed here is that it wasn't the fault of Kaja. Small and easy to make mistakes from the production team are what built up the resentment against Kaja, where the only mistake we can really bring back to her is how she announced herself as host, which again is due to her focusing more on other work she's done before even saying her own name. Mistakes happen when making a show, especially when the change of the title role shifts to new talent. In order to retain your audience while making changes to that show, you need to be careful about those small, very easy to make mistakes. Something as simple as a small pause before thanking your audience has a ripple effect that subconsciously adds the uneasy feeling about you to them. And as much as it is important to not leave any blatant errors in the production, the small mistakes matter just as much. If something big goes wrong, like say for example the camera is out of focus for the entire video or the motion graphics don't render properly, then that is a production error the fans can have fun laughing at, but it's something that can be fixed by the time the next episode comes round. But these small errors, things that would go over anyone's head, are what causes a disconnect with the audience, as those small changes like the ones discussed in this video are seen less of production error and more of an emotional or personality based flaw. In a show like Equals 3, the big mistakes don't really matter. It makes everything look less professional, but being an internet show only adds to the charm. It is the small mistakes that matter more than anything, as failing to commit to a joke or responding in a certain way to feedback are what deters people away from your work, and will lose you the audience that has been built up for over a decade. When creating a show on the internet, you will never have the security of brand loyalty. The internet hates change. If Twitter were to shift the logo on the homepage by a quarter inch to the left, there will be millions of tweets complaining about that change. You must pay attention to every facet of your production, or else the fan base isn't going to stick around. And even when Kaja left the show and Carlos took over, it was beyond the point of no return. I believe that the reason the channel stopped creating content is because Ray saw the reactions the audience had against Kaja, how such small changes can have such a wide impact on an audience, and he did not want to have a similar event happen to him. Ray was ready to move on with his career, and we can never forget the legacy that he set up on the internet, and for how he ended his run to Equals 3 and pursued to further his career beyond YouTube. I can only respect him for that. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, then please subscribe to White Sunset for more videos like it in the near future. Goodbye everyone.